Om Brahmanandam Param Sukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagan Sadrisham Tattvamasyaadi Lakshyam Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namam. Om. Adorations to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Viveka-Chudamani, and verse number is 17. The topic is gaining insight into the qualifications of an aspirant. Even for schools and colleges, you have to have good qualification. If you enter without qualifications and sit down into a lecture that is being given on advanced mathematics, you will hardly understand it. Or, if you are not interested in music and sit in a music class, everything requires qualification. This is just to give you a little light introduction. But deep down, everyone is meant to attain the highest self-realization. And the capacity to understand is there, in latent, innate. So, though at some stage it may seem that studying Vedanta may give your mind a very precise approach, like mathematics. But as you advance, or as you develop good qualifications, it becomes very simple. When it is said that no one goes with you, you are alone, very difficult for the mind to understand that. When you go to sleep, you tell everybody to get out of your way. And it is instinctive. The same experience that you turn to for deepest relaxation, that is to become non-dual. But when you intellectually start studying it, it requires some effort. So in the advanced stage of Vedantic study, a person becomes exceedingly relaxed. You're not constantly calculating which sheath is operating and so many things. Now, it is important to focus your mind precisely. What are the qualifications? If those qualifications are understood by you and you are developing them, you are on the right path. Doesn't matter how long it may take. The question how long arises because you are not developing the qualifications. Once the mango is ripe, the question when will it fall? That question doesn't arise. Vivekino viraktasya samadhi gunashalinah mumukshoreva hi brahma jigyasa yogyata mata. He who is equipped with Vivek, Vivek is discriminative knowledge, is the quality of buddhi, intellect. Intellect is the greatest aspect of your personality. And your purushartha, self-effort, reaches its height when you are able to use your intellect. You have to also understand the difference between intellectual development and leading the intellect to develop subtlety, sukshma buddhi, intellect that has become sharp, subtle, with razor sharp discrimination between real and the unreal. For easier understanding, it's intuitive intellect. There's a difference between that intellect and intellect that allows you to collect lots of data and store it in your mind. So wherever you go, you know so many things, and people who don't know, they are dullwits. Even in that aspect of intellectual knowledge, to have intellectual knowledge of the Upanishads, the Vedanta, that's not easy. Because for other type of subjects you have schools and colleges. But this subject requires a special atmosphere, because it demands subtle improvement in your personality. Even for intellectual grasp, it's extremely difficult when you present the idea that your mind must turn towards the self, that you are the self. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. Brahman alone is real and the world is illusory. Now, if you are using your intellect at intellectual level, it staggers your mind. Your intellect again and again goes on telling you, what are you going to gain out of it? People have been saying Jagan Mithya for a long, long time. The world is the same. Problems have not gone away. I'm giving a very crude way of looking at things. So therefore, certain discipline has to be practiced in good atmosphere, in satsanga atmosphere, to have proper grasp. Otherwise mind is externalized. There's a general difficulty between the Western approach and Eastern approach. Eastern approach immediately directs your attention, who am I? Western approach directs your attention, what is this world? Do you know how many stars are up there? The immensity of space. Okay, I will not go into those details. The verse says, he who is equipped with viveka, that subtle, discriminative reason, vairagya, dispassion. Vairagya comes from the term raga. Raga is attachment. Each time you experience pleasure, any agreeable situation gives a sense of joy. Each time you have that sense of joy, a will develops in your mind. May I have that more and more. In two ways. You want it in greater quantity and in longer duration. Of course, mind cannot imagine what type of duration you are thinking about. And what type of quantity are you thinking about? But ignorance is bliss. Mind doesn't have to worry too much. In this state of limitation, mind is just satisfied with the simple idea, this thing has given me great happiness, may I have it more and more. This creates raga samskaras. Now, even if you forget this experience, your unconscious has grabbed it in the form of impression. If you have lots of impressions of raga in your unconscious, your mental strength diminishes, because each desire sits with a portion of your willpower. Only desires are kidnappers, they kidnap your willpower. They sit in your unconscious. And if there is a burden of lots of desires which you have not resolved, even though you are not aware of them, that means because of the raga impressions, your willpower becomes exceedingly weak. But as you grow in a spiritual way, desires that have been shut out, kept hidden, those desires come to light. And just like a ray of light dissolving a dewdrop, vaporizing it, the desire becomes vaporized. The will that was locked up in it is released. Each illusion broken and destroyed means more strength is recovered from within your heart. The more deluded you are, your will, your strength is trapped. This can be seen in day-to-day life. Breaking up of illusions by insight allows your mind to be clear. Your will becomes stronger. That's what relates to vairagya. As you go on understanding the illusory nature of the world, and the insight that happiness doesn't come from the objects, it emanates from the self. Therefore, when you have on one side the sun, on the other side enormous expressions of the sun, countless rainbows, wondrous, dazzling clouds, shimmering waves, shining trees, lofty mountains bathed in the light of the sun. Should I go on more? All this is nothing. The sun is a reality. That's called vairagya. You are not missing any point. So, Viveka, vairagya, Shat sampath, serenity and other qualities, and ultimately mumukshutva, aspiration for self-realization. Countless desires continue to haunt you from life to life. But as mind becomes dominated by pure intellect, all desires become little. And the desire for becoming desireless, or desire for fulfilling all desires, see it both ways. Apta kamatva, all desires are fulfilled. Attain something that fulfills all your desires in one blow, or vaporizes all your desires, drives them away. And that is the aspiration, mumukshutva. It is soul's mighty desire to become liberated. All desires of the mind are included, integrated, pounded, evaporated, transcended. Ordinarily interpreted as intense longing for liberation. When you put intense longing, it always brings you a picture of strain. So you always expect a person who is an aspirant must be tense. He looks at the world and bitterness comes from all sides. This is not the picture. Though describing it, it may not give you the idea of joyous aspect. Having developed Viveka, your mind becomes exceedingly joyous. Having developed vairagya, you feel the load has been lifted. A bird has realized that it is not caught by the tree. It can let go the entire tree. It's a sense of great joy. So if you have these qualities, if you have at high degree, that means you have already attained enlightenment. If you start working upon these qualities, and your mind becomes exceedingly engrossed by them, then you are fully qualified, even though you may have a long way to go. Now we come to the qualities to give you a precise definition. आदौ नित्यानित्य वस्तु विवेक परिगण्यते इहामुत्र फल भोग विराग तदनंतरम समाधि षटक संपत्ति मुमुक्षुत्वम इति स्फुटम. The people know how to sing it. See, I'm just giving you a prose type of version. First is enumerated Viveka. It is depicted by the swan. Discriminative intellect that separates the real from the unreal. Next is vairagya, that is dispassion towards all pleasures. Pleasures are fruits of karma. All pleasurable experience that comes as a result of your karmas, here and hereafter. The result of your karma, a part of it is enjoyed right here. And most part is enjoyed hereafter. Always remember, karma means we are talking about three groups of karma. Sanchit, countless karmas from many lives. Prarabdha, the group of karma that has produced your body. In this life, Prarabdha is the one that is most important. That is the Prarabdha that has fashioned your body. It has brought you into a family, and it has given you a form of plot of your life. A great writer, when he has to write a big work of a novel or any literary work, he writes down the plot, and the plot can be written in 2 or 3 pages, but when he develops it, it becomes enormous. Prarabdha gives you a plot of your life, basic points. Who will be your parents? How long is the duration of your life? What type of family? Including the choices are many. It could be in fox family, in a deer family. Among human beings, again, there's a lot of families. You can be an Alaskan family, you can be an Australian family, you can be anywhere. It is karma, prarabdha karma, that has given you all these, and has given you also how long you are going to live. Therefore, people who are deeply devotional, they don't constantly keep their mind worried about when will I die. If prarabdha has not come to an end, nothing can destroy you. A mighty wind can drive you away, miles away, but it will bring you back safe and sound. If prarabdha has not ended. If prarabdha has ended, a little flea enters your nose and finishes you up. So therefore don't live in fear. And the idea then, don't we have the possibility to increase our life? I will not touch that topic, but basic point to understand that if you are in the hands of God, prolonging your life is important for your ego. What is good for your soul, God knows. Sometimes people have attained enlightenment in a very short time. Shankaracharya himself was a 32-year-old. Many great personalities. Jesus was also young. So it is not a matter of how long you live that makes your life a life of blessedness. It is a matter of quality. So don't worry about the length of time. That doesn't secure liberation. So as I was talking about karma, prarabdha is only a portion of enormous amount of karma called sanchit karma. And while you are enjoying or reaping the fruits of prarabdha karma, you are creating karmas by your free will. Your free will has always a scope of creating karmas. And it expands, it contracts. Sometimes you create powerful karmas that neutralize many of the past karmas. That again is a vast subject. Now, the karmas that you create in this life, they are called kriyaman karmas. A portion of those karmas join with your prarabdha and bear fruit in this very life. Another portion joins with your sanchit karma, all the storage of the previous karma, the ancient karmas. No one knows when will they fructify. If you attain enlightenment, then the karmas have lost their karmas. They will be all destroyed. Vairagya is to develop dispassion towards all fruits of karma. No matter how wonderful karma you may have, the fruit of karma may give you lots of fame, name, glory. But for a mind that is desirous of enlightenment, all this is illusion. You are admitted in a hospital and you find by your good behavior or whatever, you are transferred into a room where lots of tender loving care comes for to you. And your mind says, let me never get out of it. Let me get promoted to still better handling of myself. That means the mind is dull. Your goal is not to stay in the hospital, get out of it. Not to stay in the predicament of creating karmas and then coming back, going up and down like rice in a boiling kettle, going up and down. Your goal is to be liberated, not to go on repeating the cycle of same things. Just to give you a allegorical way of looking at it. Think of great personality, people of great fame. Shah Jahan, for example, he created Mumtaz Mahal. Wonder, great wonder. How many times that spirit of Shah Jahan must have walked up to that Taj Mahal in different embodiments and wondered about Shah Jahan, who was once upon a time. You may think it is very far-fetched, but Vedantic study takes your mind still in a higher dimension. You are essentially Brahman, absolute self. So, led by your karma, even though Brahman is the reality within you, you have wandered as if in a dream or from dream to dream. So then that's all I was talking about vairagya. Dispassion. Dispassion towards fruits of karma. Another point is that all fruits of karma are enjoyed by vrittis of the mind. In other words, if you don't have vrittis, you don't have mind, there will be no fruit of karma. Implying further that all enjoyments are like cinema show, pictures projected on the screen continuously, one after another. Vritti is in your mind, constantly creating the illusion of world experience. This point becomes easy for one who has developed the qualification of Viveka. You need to have subtle intellect to see, even though you are watching the cinema and you are very engrossed. You see a vampire dripping with blood from his mouth. A subtle intellect tells you he has just taken some tomatoes. You can allow yourself to be shaken because you have given money for it. But your intellect is there showing that this is not real. And so to desire perfection to arise in the realm of vrittis, impossible. Yes. Intellect has to be exceedingly dull to have that type of idea. Yet masses, majority of people, they have nothing else to look forward to. So therefore we talk about dispassion towards all pleasures from here to Brahmaloka. All that are possible. Human mind needs to be promoted in a special way to understand the immensity of possibility in the world of time and space. Also the world of time and space being Maya, there are layers and layers of illusions. I will get into that again. Next is a set of 6 qualities called Shat, sampath. And the 4th is called mumukshutva, burning aspiration for God realization. Burning should not be taken literally. Having touched these points, now Vivek-Chudamani comes back to give you more precise insight. Brahma satyam jagan mityet kyevam rupo vinishchaya soyam nitya nitya vastu viveka samudahrita. A firm conviction of the intellect that Brahman alone is real. This world is false. It is known as nitya nitya vivek. Nitya means eternal, anitya means transient. When you look at the cinema show, screen, relatively speaking, is there, is kind of eternal. But all the pictures that are being projected is anitya, non-eternal. Every moment you are facing eternal you, absolute self, and Maya created world process projected by mind, anitya. Therefore, things that are non-eternal transient. They don't stay in your mind for a long duration. They move away from your memory. During lifetime, you are storing countless memories. Your whole garage is filled. When you enter the next embodiment, the entire garage is thrown into shredders or whatever. All forgotten. You create a new garage. So all this is anityam. So you develop that keen understanding. What will I gain by holding things that are transient? Let me realize the eternal. Asatoma sadgamaya. All the clouds that dance around are asat. The sky is sat, existence exists. Mirage is asat. The desert is sat. All illusions are asat, non-existent. You train your mind. Because when we talk of mind, you have to understand there are two aspects. Mind that is very close to your ego, where you constantly become aware of your likes and dislikes. If you are identified with your mind, it's difficult for you to control your likes and dislikes. You can't be objective. But if you allow your mind to be dominated by pure intellect, now you have certain rationality, clarity. You are able to view the situation as if you are from an aerial point and have a clearer idea. To be a jnana yogi or to be any yogi, bhakti yogi or whomsoever, you need to have purity of intellect. And that intellect gives you that hunger for sat, and bad appetite for asat. Asat, that which doesn't exist, that doesn't delight you. But that which exists, that becomes the source of joy for your mind. A firm conviction of the intellect that Brahman alone is real. This world, when we talk about this world, try to understand the extension of the world. There are 14 lokas. The descriptions of those lokas are amazing. You think you have all the fun here in the human world. There are beings with amazing faculty of mind and senses, and have different dimension of enjoyment. Compared to that, human personality is just a dwarf. Maybe even look like a bug. But first let me give you the idea. There are three planes: vital, mental, intellectual. Vast majority of jivas, they are more leaning upon the vital plane. Whenever we study the birds and the animals, when they are happy, their happiness means they have a lot of vitality. Among human beings again, people who are in sport and do lots of things, amazing adventure with their body, prana. So there is that area where you can go on developing great experience of joy and pleasure. But pleasure arising out of this bhurloka, where prana is predominant, is very little compared to pleasure arising out of bhuvarloka, pleasure arising out of mental advancement. Think of a human being having a developed heart. I'm not talking about physical heart, where profound sentiments surge, from where poetry emanates, literature arises out of it. All artistic talents, all great cultures arise out of that. That's loka. Bhuvar-loka is advancing. Your mind may be set upon enjoyment only in the level of bhuvar-loka, not knowing that there is bigger loka in your intellect. As intellect begins to advance, you become sages having revelations of Vedantic philosophy, of greatest of reality that rules the masses. The ability to have that type of clear thought which emanates from God's mind, speaking figurative, that gives you a tremendous joy. This is further elaborated into many other lokas, but these three are the basic. Every human being is a blend of all the three. Karmically, as you advance and your mind focuses on having greater range of happiness, then you must realize you are moving away from bhur to bhuva, from bhuva to swa. In swa stage there are many variations. All these are not precise geographical levels. And that experiences may continue and do continue after death. If your karma places you as a human being, even as a human being, you can have amazing possibility of reaching out to higher lokas. Rather, the great blessing is that as a human being you can have a complete view of all the lokas and their pleasures and a great wisdom. Nothing is desirable. If you have developed that, that's called real Viveka. Your intellect has become very clear. Otherwise, your intellect is dull. Human pleasure, well, if you have Gandharva pleasure coming before you, the mind becomes so elated. And someone were to say Gandharva pleasure is transient. You don't want to listen to it. That means intellect is not keen to go into the depth of reality. What I am trying to explain to you, whenever you read from Vedanta, vairagya is defined as considering all enjoyments from human plane to Brahmaloka as a straw. Try to figure it out. How does it relate to you? All the glory and all that experience that will come to you in physical, astral, mental planes, they are all in the realm of chitta vrittis, thought waves. They are transient. Permanency is not there. Therefore, with the same effort and the same involvement, you switch your attention to the goal, and it will require much less trouble. This is about Viveka. Your mind has, your intellect has a clear understanding of difference between the real and the unreal. And the real is all this that I have described, all the lokas. All the lokas are unreal. Tad vairagyam jihasaya darshan shravanadibhi dehadi brahma paryante yanitye bhoga vastuni. Vairagya or dispassion is the aspiration to give up all transient enjoyments. Give up means transcend. You cannot physically give up when you have vairagya. If you do that, you won't live even for a day, a few days. Deep in your mind, you are not deluded. All transient enjoyments acquired by seeing, hearing, touching, elaborate all the senses. From bodily existence in the mortal world to abiding in Brahmaloka, which I have just explained. All enjoyments, first to understand enjoyment term is so profound, so staggering, you can't imagine it. Even in the world, people are blinded by the possibility of illusory enjoyment. They are all drunk. They have no idea of enjoyments that can be 1,000 times greater by altering your mental process, giving you a different nervous system. And yet all that has been done is that you have become a marionette. All your experiences are on the basis of nervous system. So don't be deluded by the enormity of pleasure, because all this is in the realm of Maya. Even when we describe the highest of the lokas, Brahmaloka, where all your imagination fails to understand the profundity, the immensity of human experience. Suppose you became aware, you are not limited like a body. Suppose your body were to have a enormous dimension. I'm giving you just a figurative way, otherwise you may have a wrong understanding. In all areas, seeing, hearing, touching. If your experience of pleasure is enhanced 1,000,000 times, that will give you some idea of Brahmaloka. Will that be desirable for one who wants to attain liberation? So that's what we say. Dispassion from the human experience to experience in Brahmaloka. From Brahma down to a blade of grass. One who has developed dispassion towards all. He is a practitioner of vairagya. विरज्य विषय व्राता दोषः दृष्ट्या मुहुर्मुहु स्वलक्ष्ये नित्यतावस्था मनसः शम उच्यते. Now we come to Shat sampath. Shama is serenity. When the mind detaches itself from the multiplicity of sense enjoyments by constantly observing their defects and consequently rests steadfastly on Brahman, then one has developed Shama, serenity. Shat sampath refers to 6 qualities. Shama, serenity. Dhamma, control of senses. Uparati, a special quality of detachment from fruits of karma. Titiksha, endurance. Shraddha, faith. Samadhan, tranquility of mind. You must realize these 6 encompass voluminous teachings for proper understanding. To a Jnana Yogi, this is like Vishnu Sahasranam. You go after qualities and go on understanding it, the implications. Yoga Vashta details upon 4 great qualities. Shama, if you have serenity. Santosh, you will develop the quality of contentment. You will be drawn to satsanga and you will become reflective. Your intellect will enjoy gaining knowledge of Brahman. These 4, they are interrelated. So Yoga Vasishtha calls them 4 gatekeepers of liberation. Serenity, contentment, good association, and inquiry into who am I. Here in Shat sampath, all these are included. But since we are focusing on Shat sampath, we start with serenity. The serenity is that mind detaches itself from the multiplicity of vishayas, sense objects. Why does it detach? By constantly observing their defects. The major defect in all the objects is that objects are illusory. Rajiva elaborates upon this. Tap, parinam, gunavritti virodh, sarvam dukkham vivekina. All pleasures are painful for the discerning mind. Why? Things you love, you have to work for them. No gain without pain. Parinam, once you have acquired things that you like, and you love them, and you become too immersed in them, you don't realize that they have their own whims also, things that you depend upon. Now you have become their slave, and suddenly they will be whisked away from you, led by karmas, led by so many factors. Parinam, then what will be the result? Since you have become indulgent, your will has become weakened, now you will suffer a lot of pain and sorrow, and you will create more complex state of mind. Another point, gunavritti virodhat. Early in the morning, things that give you great joy, you want to be alone, you want to enjoy nature, or you want to meditate. Being alone, no sound, nothing, nobody around, gives you joy. Now, by the evening you come, your mind wants to have support of others, to be able to have some type of groups around you. And then nature has provided loneliness. The same situation is no longer joyous. Same object. You are hungry, food is so delicious, joyous. You are no longer hungry, and the host wants to please you according to his pleasure. Wants to give you more and more, even though you have no hunger. The same food that was delicious becomes exceedingly painful. All objects of the world in this universe, all things from outside that give you pleasure, also bring in your mind a lot of bitterness based upon the gunas, because gunas are never sure. So when you think of all that is related to every pleasant experience, your intellect understands sarvam dukkham vivekina. To the ignorant, all this wonderful happiness. And the Viveki, one who has that higher level of intellect, simply smiles. People who are drunk, they sing and dance, and they sit down by the garbage can and those who are not drunk, they smile. So while Vivekins, people who have that special intellect, the world is full of distress, All pleasures are, they hide within themselves the potentiality to give you pain. This teaching is not given to make you more stressed.